I'm Justin's older brother, and I'm honored to share with you today. Very grateful to be here and celebrating Ruth and Justin. While my brothers and I were growing up, my mom had a home decor piece in our guest bathroom that said there's a special place in heaven for the mother of 3 boys. I'd like to think it should have read, having 3 boys is heaven for a mother, but I guess that's where it resides. Justin and I's relationship got off to a rocky start when we were at the zoo while my mother was pregnant with Justin, actually. When my parents said I couldn't have a souvenir I wanted, I pointed at her belly and I said, "I hope an alligator eats her baby." I know, right? Justin graciously forgave me upon being born. It didn't help the sibling rivalry that my mom would tell Justin that if all babies were like him, she'd have 1,000,000 of them. Smith family legend is that the only reason my parents were brave enough to have a 3rd child is because Justin was so easy and so content all the time. So what I'm trying to say is that Daniel owes his life to Justin. But at the beginning, it was just a Craig and Justin duo, and we became the best of friends. Being a major extrovert that was always up to something, Justin was the perfect sidekick and the follower for my schemes. Whatever the endeavor, Justin was always by my side, making things more fun, and occasionally taking the fall when things went sideways and I had to throw him under the bus. But as he matured, Justin realized that I was the bad brother, and as a result, he would say, "Bad Craig, bad Craig," or make me cry. And it wasn't that I was really that bad, it was just that Justin was such a rule follower. I think it's a part of the integrity he has today. One of the most pointed examples of Justin's level of responsibility was on one of his birthdays when he came home from school on Friday. My mom said, "Do you want to open your presents?" And he said, "No, I want to do my homework first." I'm kidding, of course. He was the kind of person who wanted to get the work done and then play later. To this day, I know few people that work harder than Justin. Another thing we quickly realized about Justin's personality was that he was reluctant to change. Once he made up his mind, it was very difficult to convince him otherwise. For example, he would refuse to wear pants when it became winter. He would refuse to wear new socks. He would hide his holy ones from our mother so we wouldn't have to replace them with new ones. He could continue wearing them. And he also insisted on being a fireman for Halloween for multiple years in a row, like 4 or 5 years in a row.
That's true.
And in the same way I kept Justin entertained as a kid, Justin then did for Daniel. His favorite was to make Daniel laugh. He would do anything, all types of antics to make it happen. There was only one problem with this. Daniel had an interesting biological quirk where if he started laughing too hard, he would start hiccuping, and if he kept laughing, he would vomit. This is why my mom would frequently say to us, "Stop making him laugh, it's going to go on." But we couldn't help ourselves, and actually on Daniel's first birthday party, we made him laugh so hard that he threw up. When we first moved to Granite Bay, Justin got lost in our house, which he called a mini mansion. He basically got stuck in an endless loop walking around the pantry and the desk area. But moments like this didn't fool us because we could tell from a young age that Justin had an intellectual gift. He had an engineer's mind. He would build large Legos like a 1,400-piece Millennium Falcon, and this included a meticulous rebuild when my mom stepped on it. And actually Ruth, a like-minded materials engineer, would have definitely felt his pain had they known each other at the time. We've seen huge growth in Justin in many different ways over the years. When Justin was young, we went on family vacation to Zion National Park. And on one of the hikes in a very steep section, Justin felt so much anxiety about falling off the cliff that he actually could only take baby steps going along. But then fast forward to years later in Colorado at 11,000 feet, and Justin was committed to getting to the top of the mountain with extremely rough terrain. Only changing weather and the threat of a thunderstorm was able to convince him not to summit, which taught us that the only thing that can stop a determined Justin is lightning. My dad taught us how to juggle, both balls and pins, and for multiple years, my dad asked for flaming torches for his birthday, actually. We never took him seriously. We were like, that sounds totally crazy. But after some encouragement from a random stranger at the airport, my mom, my brothers, and I pooled our money, and we got Dad some flaming torches for his birthday. We went out to the backyard, dipped them in lamp oil, lit them up, and then we all kind of stood there, too nervous to throw flaming sticks in the air and then attempt to catch them. But to our surprise, Justin grabbed them and just went for it, putting on an impressive and dangerous light show for all of us. I'm very proud of Justin and all that he's become and accomplished. He's an Eagle Scout. He has an impressive job where he makes a difference. Like a true Smith boy, he can juggle and ride a unicycle. He's a great friend who instead of just being friends with everybody and anyone, goes deep with a smaller circle. Many of his closest friends are actually from high school, including his best friend, Austin Lee. Ultimately, he's a caring, capable, joyful, responsible, smart, and faithful individual. The same things that make up Justin's strong character are the same things that will make him a great husband for Ruth. But of everything Justin has done and become, I'm most proud and grateful that he is a man of God. Ultimately, a relationship with Jesus is what truly matters and will last forever. Because of that, I'm so grateful that both Ruth and Justin are walking with the Lord. Over COVID, I saw their intentionality about watching their church's online services together. I've seen the way they get involved and serve, including Justin ripping it on guitar on his church worship team. Ooh. I've seen the way they seek spiritual mentorship from older, wiser individuals that are further down the path, as well as fellowship with believers their own age. And then specifically to you, Justin and Ruth, I want to encourage you guys to lean into Jesus when things get tough, they get difficult, or they get uncomfortable. In moments where you make each other unhappy or angry or sad, which will happen, as Chris mentioned, you'll know where to run to the Father. But you guys will know the blessing of being married to a spouse that loves you, but loves Jesus more. You guys can accomplish more for God's kingdom than you can apart, and your marriage will serve as an example of love, of sacrifice, and of ultimately God's love for the church. And then specifically to you, Ruth, I've loved getting to know you, and I'm excited to welcome you to the family. I'm looking forward to years of making more memories together like we did in Ocean Grove this summer. On that trip, I noticed how much you went above and beyond to serve others, grabbing bags, asking you how you could help, all sorts of things that weren't asked of you. I've been impressed with how caring you are, how thoughtful you are, and how you're always ready for a good laugh. I've always wanted a sister, and I'm excited that now I have one. I'm sure there's also a special place in heaven for the mother of 3 boys and 1 girl. So please join me in raising a toast to Justin and Ruth for a lifetime of love,